Backlogs. Unfortunately, across our CA journey, one thing that remains constant is unfortunately the backlogs. And this is not just you alone. When we studied, we also faced these backlogs. Everyone who is going through this do face these backlogs. So in today's video, we are going to quickly try to cover three important areas. First, why do you get these backlogs? Second, what is the impact of these backlogs? And third, and the most important thing that we discuss is what is the solution on how can you come out of this vicious cycle of backlogs. Okay, so first of all, what is the reason why you are facing these backlogs? Now, generally what happens is you try to prepare this study schedule where you are very excited. You are at the peak of your motivation and you say that now, you know what, this is a study leave. I'm going to study 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, and boom, I'm going to complete 3 revisions and 4 revisions. You are at the peak of your motivation when you create your schedule. And generally, when you are creating your schedule, there's peak motivation, but as every human, your motivation would eventually kind of fizzle down, and as a result you might not be able to complete what you actually set out to. And that over expectation and over commitment that you had initially while preparing the schedule was generally the root of that backlog. So if you try to fix it when you're making the schedule now, if you are kind of listening to this video when you're making the schedule, well, try to ensure that you are more realistic and not overly ambitious when you're preparing that schedule. But what if we have actually prepared that schedule and what we are unable to stick to those backlogs? How do we kind of tackle it? Well, before that, the backlogs have a very long lasting impact and a very stressful impact on you. So what happens is if you're let us say studying, for example, DT, and you have set out to complete a certain set of chapters, you're unable to do that. That gives you a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and eventually your body kind of gives up and you're like, well, you know what, this is not for me. This is a course that I cannot do. I cannot even study this much. But well, a lot of it would have been because of the initial overcommitment. And if you've already done that, well, you can kind of use a better strategy going forward. But so what do we do? What if we have a current backlog right now? How do I fix it? Do I ignore it? Do I let it be and start afresh? That is not something that I would recommend. Remember, a lot of people do have backlogs, and when I was studying, audit was my problem. And in audit, maybe there were chapters like audit of banks, audit of insurance companies, and I would invariably kind of keep them for the end. And like everything else, if you keep a backlog and keep on ignoring it, you will never be able to complete it. So the thing is not to ignore your backlog, but to fix it. Now, how do you fix it? The solution over here, we will have 3 things. First, identify and admit that who is at fault. Rather than having everything external, figure out that, well, I had to achieve some things and I probably was a little distracted. I was not able to focus for the entire day and maybe I was at fault. So first, accepting the responsibility goes a long way in getting the corrective actions at the right place. Secondly, if you have the backlog currently and when you're making the schedule going forward, you should not let it disturb your existing schedule. So for example, if you have planned your day in a way that you're going to study, let us say 10 hours, for example, and in those 10 hours, you have said that I'm going to study 7 hours of FR and maybe 3 hours of, let us say, audit. Now, if there is an existing backlog which is already there, ignoring the backlog we have seen is not going to take you anywhere because it will be ignored till the day of your exam and it will give you more stress and anxiety. So try to put in some extra effort which you know you have to put in because you were at fault, because you could not complete the backlog. So maybe build up just another half an hour of time. So you don't have to clear the backlog immediately in a span of a week. However, if you know that these are the topics that I could not complete because I ran short of time, don't spend more time. At least spend half an hour more as compared to what you would have regularly done in your regular preparation. And slowly, you will realize that these backlogs are going away. So your existing plan of 7 hours and 3 hours, let us say of 10 hours, remains intact. But maybe put in half an hour. And if you are kind of getting into the flow, maybe a little more, maybe an hour, but try to slowly cover up those backlogs which are remaining, because trust me, what you're doing is a bonus. Because if you had not done this, you had planned this in the second and third revision, that will be never. So ensure that you try to dedicate that half an hour more on a daily basis and put in that extra effort to kind of reduce the backlog to the extent possible. What is done is done. No point crying over spilled milk. And if possible, try to implement this, and in my opinion, I can guarantee you half your problems are fixed. So when you do your daily plans, what you try to do is, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So your work starts in the morning. In my opinion, you should start it the night before. So the night before, do just two things. Before you are going to sleep, 1 hour before that, just have a no screen time, which means usually what will happen is, when you are, let's say you have worked hard the entire day, you tell yourself you deserve that phone. Yes, you do, but not an hour before sleeping, because if you get on it, the algorithms are designed in a way that you will not even know where your time has gone, and you are sleeping late, and there is a late morning, and it's again the same vicious cycle. So fix your sleeping time, let us say 11 p.m, 10 p.m, whatever it is, fix your sleeping time, and 1 hour before that, you remove the phone. Promise yourself that you are not going to watch it at the end. If you want, maybe sometime earlier you have a dedicated time, but not an hour before you sleep. And when you are having that 1 hour to yourself, just have a broad plan for what you are going to achieve on the next day. So when you wake up in the morning and you complete your morning routine, well, you are directly on to the subject and directly on into the complete flow. Your sleeping time is not disturbed. You have ensured that you have planned what needs to be done on the next day, the night before, and you try to stick to it. Put in some slight extra effort, and you will see that slowly the backlogs would reduce. I'm not really telling you that you will never have backlogs after watching this video. No, you will have. We are humans. We had that backlogs. You will also have it. But to the extent we can reduce it, to the extent we can optimize the time that we have, we are going to get a better result by investing the time in a more judicious manner. Try to come out of this cycle. Try to ensure that you don't over promise yourself. Try to ensure that the time that you have, you stick to it, and what was not done earlier, you don't ignore it, but at the same time you kind of put in slightly more time. It may be 15 minutes also, if you think that half an hour or an hour is too much, but ensure that you take that step in the direction to complete small things, and ensure that you don't see the phone an hour before you sleep. Some of you would be saying, sir, we are seeing this video an hour before you are sleeping, but avoid doing that later. And secondly, ensure that you plan for the next day just before you go to sleep, so that you are in that complete flow for the coming day. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'll see you soon with more revision videos and more strategy and update videos as well. Till then, keep studying, keep working hard, and take care. Goodbye.